Am I the asshole for leaving the hospital after my husband called for his mom instead of me? My husband, 31, was in the hospital for a surgery that involved anesthesia. His mom came to wait with me there but didn't speak to me because we have been having some minor disagreements. She offered me coffee but I declined politely. Hours after the surgery, we were told only one person goes into the room for the day since he was still under anesthesia. From what I understand, he woke up calling for his mom. The nurse asked for his mom to go in and she did. I was irritated and felt like all this waiting and stressing out got ignored. The nurse told me that he was still not fully awake and was repeatedly calling for his mom spontaneously. She was basically hinting that I shouldn't get worked up over a natural reaction from my husband, but I couldn't help feel irked. I wanted to go home, so I left 10 minutes later. His mom called saying she got out the room after I left so I could get time with him, but instead I couldn't wait and went home. She said this was not okay and I flew off the handle for no reason. I said that her son acted like I wasn't there, but she said that he cannot be blamed for something he can't control and I'm just being unfair to him and putting blame on him because of a disagreement between her and I cut the conversation short after I sensed that she somehow blamed me for being unacknowledged and ignored. Her husband texted later saying I'm being hostile over nothing and that I should focus on my husband's health instead of acting petty, but I don't think I did anything that qualifies as petty. You are the asshole. Even if it wasn't a groggy reaction from coming out of surgery, he's allowed to ask for his mother. Unbelievable that you went home instead of waiting to see him. Edit. Spelling. You are the asshole. You don't speak to his mother because of a minor disagreement? God. I wonder how you'd act if you had a major disagreement. He was waking up from surgery. He was still medicated. It's like when you wake up and are groggy and still half asleep. You chose to put your spat with his mother over your concern for his health. Grow the heck up. You are the asshole. Last time I had surgery there was someone coming off anesthesia who thought he had been abducted by aliens. People are not responsible for what they say under anesthesia. You owe both him and his mother an apology for this. Edit. I did not realize this comment would result in such an amazing string of incredible anesthesia stories. Thanks for all of them. I noticed that you never stated your age or how long you've been married. You know you messed up. Your husband could have been calling for the Queen of England and he's never going to remember doing it. Please chill. Your mother-in-law offered you a cup of coffee and instead of taking her up on it and discussing your anxiety, you played the petty card. Your problem is you. Please seek out some professional help. You need to learn how to deal with basic life events. Yes, in this situation, you are the asshole. You are the asshole. I'm a nurse anesthetist and 1. People have no idea what they say when they wake up from anesthesia and even a pretty while after 2. It's perfectly normal and fine for patients to call for their moms when they feel sick, are in pain, etc. Dying patients usually call for their mothers. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that since our mothers are, usually, the ones taking the most care of us and we all carry them deeply in our hearts. So yeah, you have no right to be upset and act childish about this and yeah, you are the asshole. You are the asshole, and I think you mean anesthesia. Way to make everything about you. I bet you post on the JNMIL subreddit as a victim. You are the asshole and a JNDIL. You are the asshole. I came out of anesthesia begging for my mommy, as a mid-20s adult, slightly wailing, and in immense pain. I don't remember most of it, and I sure as shit wasn't in control of what I was saying or doing. Our moms are normally who we had growing up who take care of us in our most vulnerable state. It's natural that if he had a good relationship with his mom, he would call for her since it was ingrained in his head as a baby that she is there to take care of him. His mom handled this excellently by helping and calming him down, then giving you time with your husband. You are the only asshole here since you just up and left, immediately. Edit. Thank you for the award. Am I the asshole for refusing to make my husband apologize for what he said to my mom at dinner table? So, IF31 recently got married to my husband Scott M36. Before I met him I was engaged to my former fiancé Martin, but we broke it off because this relationship was sort of pushed by my family because he's a doctor and comes from a wealthy family. When our relationship ended, Mom was devastated. She did her best to bring us back together. For example, she lied to Martin about me being pregnant to save us. That was years ago now. We're all on good terms including Martin. Mom has a bit of tension towards Scott. She treats him well but constantly makes passive, nagging comments about him. She compares him to Martin all the time which bothers both of us but we try to let it slide. Mom kept telling Scott about the diamond ring, new car, and bank account Martin got for his fiancée and kept sending him photos saying how generous Martin is to his fiancée, then compared him to Scott and what he had done for me. I told her stop doing this and she apologized. Last week, we were over at my parents' house for a social gathering. Lot of relatives came and we had dinner. At dinner table Mom asked Scott if he saw the text she sent him the other day. He said he was sorry and that he didn't notice. She told him to check it right then and read it out loud so everyone at the table could hear. He took his phone and started reading the text out loud. Her text mentioned how Martin got his fiancée a new house and how generous he was, then said that Martin is younger than Scott, yet was able to buy a house. Basically shaming Scott for his inability to buy a house. She wrapped up by saying that Martin maybe wasn't so bad for me after all. I was shocked and Scott was pissed obviously, however, he didn't lash out or anything. He looked at the text, smiled and said, "You know, what gets me about this entire text is how you were a public educator for 30 years. Yet you can't differentiate between the passive, you, and the contraction, your, good God." The thought of all the children that must have been left behind. Everyone at the table busted into laughter and Mom's face went pale. She decided to leave the table, then she and my sister started yelling at me saying Scott was being awfully rude and I need to get him to apologize immediately for embarrassing Mom at the table. I refused to tell him to apologize, then pointed out how she was being judgmental towards him. She defended herself saying she was just letting him know and he had no confidence and took it personally. I left but kept getting told to talk to him and get him to apologize for what he did. "You are the asshole. Why are you letting your mom treat your husband this way? Yes, your husband handled it like a champ, but grow a freaking spine and tell your mom in no uncertain terms to cut that shit out. Why? I have to say, you are the asshole for brushing your mom's behavior to the side. Stop being around that type of nastiness. If I were your husband, I would have put my foot down. No more of your mom's visits. If she comes over, and no more visiting. If you want to go, go alone. You obviously ain't done enough to put your mom in her place. If the tables were turned, you would want to be defended against your in-laws. You are the asshole for not standing up for Scott more. From your post, he can fight his battles just fine, but your sister and your mother needs to know that their actions are not okay. Scott sounds like a keeper. Maybe choose him over your busybody mom. OMG, I love Scott. Please tell me this really happened. Oh, and you are not the asshole. You are the asshole for continually allowing your husband to be bullied and harassed by your mother. If my mom sent something like that to my I'd tell her to fuck off myself. This is so cruel and disrespectful. Mom, I've told you to stop but you refuse, so we won't be coming to family events or speaking with you until you sincerely, and I mean sincerely, apologize to husband. If you can't or won't, then that is your decision, but I won't allow your reign of bullying and harassment continue. Let me know what you decide. Goodbye. You are the asshole for even thinking Scott might need to apologize to your mom. You are the asshole for not shutting your mom down a long time ago. Your mom is a total raging asshole who needs to be the one apologizing for her appalling behavior. Your sister is an asshole for siding with your bullying mom. Scott is a gem and not the asshole. He's brilliant. Not the asshole. She decided to leave the table, then she and my sister started yelling at me saying Scott was being awfully rude and I need to get him to apologize immediately for embarrassing Mom at the table. What about your mom embarrassing Scott at the table? Is she going to apologize for that? She treats him well but constantly makes passive, nagging comments about him. You realize that these two statements directly contradict each other, right? Also, I don't think you're both trying to let it slide. I think you're a coward who should have actually stood up for your fiancé years ago but haven't, so here we are. Am I the asshole for refusing to pay my sister for house sitting after she failed to feed my birds? I'm 25M, really upset about what she did. I needed to fly out from California to Washington because my dad had surgery from an accident and I wanted to be there to help out my stepmom with him for a few days. I was gone for a week and asked my sister if she could come over once a day to water my plants, check my mail. I also have, or had, 2 blue parakeets that I love. Male and female. The female was ready to lay her eggs, so I already had a nest for them in their cage. Before my trip she was already sitting on her eggs in the nest, and I told my sister to always make sure to clean their cup of bird food and add more in every day and keep their water clean. This was explained to her twice because I wanted to make sure the birds and the eggs would be okay. The male would be bringing food for the female to eat while she's sitting on the eggs, so that's why I wanted to be sure she would follow what I said. Also clean out the tray in their cage. Every day since leaving I asked her did the birds have food, was their water clean, etc. She told me yes, every time, so nothing to worry about. Finally got back last night. First thing was to check on my birds. Yeah, the cage was clean and their water was too, but guess what? All that was in their food cup was trash from the seeds they already ate. The mother bird was, And obviously the eggs didn't survive either. The only one that was still alive was the male, but he looked so sad. First thing I noticed was that he was right on top of the nest box looking inside. Can't tell you how much I was crying taking them out. She had 6 eggs and she died still trying to incubate their babies. My sister claimed their cup was always full, so she assumed she didn't need to put more food in. Despite telling her to refill their cup with more food. Because they had nothing. She keeps saying it was an honest mistake and she didn't mean for them to die. And now I'm refusing to pay her the $200 I promised to drive here every day because she didn't follow everything instructed. She did everything else except this one thing, so it's not fair to refuse paying her. Calling me petty and shitty brother after doing me a favor for taking the time out of her days now only to not give her money she needs. I'm still really sad, angry about my birds, so that's why I feel like she doesn't deserve anything for being the one responsible. But maybe I am? Or who knows? Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. She killed your pet. If anything, she owes you money. Also, it sounds like the deceased animal was still in its cage? She didn't pay enough attention to notice that? Not the asshole. I'm so sorry for you and your little dude, he must be so heartbroken. Not the asshole. She did everything else except this one thing, so it's not fair to refuse paying her. This one thing was the most important one, the thing that living beings dependent on. That money is even being talked about right now seems insensitive. I'm so sorry for your loss. I also want to add that if the food bowl looked full every day and that's why she didn't replace the food, even though you can tell what's seed and what's husk, that's still her fault. If she believed the birds needed food every day but never needed to top it up, she should have been concerned and contacted you to say, "Hey, your birds' food is still full, so it looks like they might not be eating." It's really that basic. Edit to add not the asshole and sorry for your loss op. Not the asshole. I'd be telling everyone I knew that she house sat and didn't even notice the bird had died. Not the asshole. So not the asshole. Oh my god, my heart is breaking for you. Please keep the male company, he might give up on life as these types of birds get very close to each other and when one dies, sometimes the other gives up on life. Not the asshole. She killed your bird and the eggs. Info. Did you by chance walk her through everything? Did you inform her that the cup may be full but it is in fact just full of the empty seeds and therefore she needs to refill the cup with fresh food? Not the asshole. She literally killed your birds. She had one job and her lazy ass couldn't even follow through with the most important aspect of it. You don't have to pay her a cent. Am I the asshole for taking away my brother's birthday cake after he had paid for it? My brother, Rob, is a self-proclaimed prankster. He loves pulling pranks on everyone, including strangers. His pranks, in my opinion, aren't funny and may land him in serious trouble in the future. His pranks are just antagonizing someone until he gets bored and then calling it a prank. Rob's behavior has seriously affected my relationship with him. When I first started dating my wife, Hallie, he made it a habit at every gathering I would attend with her to prank her. Not just an average whoopee cushion or a rubber snake like hiding her glasses for hours on end, or pouring vinegar in her tea. He claims he does it to make Hallie less posh and uptight. My family is like him as well, a bunch of self-proclaimed jokesters. I don't speak to them much. My wife, Hallie, gave birth to our beautiful son 6 months ago. According to my family, we've been rationing our family visits. The first time they saw our son was when he was 4 months, and they haven't seen him since. My family isn't very happy with this arrangement and they've been spamming me with calls, texts and even emails asking, begging, to see the baby. They want weekly or even daily visits, but that just isn't possible. Rob invited us for his 30th birthday and asked Hallie to make his birthday cake. Not just any basic, simple vanilla cake, but one of those fancy, detailed, decorated cakes that require lots of time and effort. I was hesitant to go, and even more hesitant to let Hallie make the cake, but Hallie assured me that it would be all right and attending the birthday might ease my family off our back. Rob paid her up front for the cake that he specifically wanted. Hallie also made cupcakes, just because she wanted to. Hallie and I arrived at my brother's house earlier than everyone else, and when everyone arrived, I was pleasantly surprised with how well the whole thing was going. They were very excited to meet my son and they were very respectful towards Hallie. Rob kept telling Hallie to watch her back. I had no idea he meant it literally. While my wife was handling the cake, he came up behind her and poured cold water on her body. This obviously scared her a little and caused her to drop the cake. Rob got extremely pissed, claiming that she dropped the cake on purpose. Hallie started to apologize for dropping the cake, while soaking wet, but I wasn't having any of it and I admittedly lost my temper a little. I yelled at Rob for being irresponsible and irrational, grabbed the cupcakes that Hallie had made, which were untouched, and left with my family. It was a little dramatic. The next day, I woke up to a string of angry texts from Rob, telling me I had no right to take the cupcakes away from him because he had rightfully paid for them and this wouldn't have happened if Hallie could handle a little cold water. Hallie thinks that I should at least apologize in the hopes that it would make everything go away. Not the asshole. Your family sucks. Tell Rob that it is obviously his fault that Hallie dropped the cake. Pranks are not funny and his idea of pranks are just bullying. Tell your family that since they seem incapable of treating you and your family with any respect or decency that you will be taking a break from them. Explain that this break will last at least until you and your wife receive a sincere apology from Rob and a promise to cut this shit out from now on and an acknowledgement from others that Rob's behavior and treatment of your wife is unacceptable. Tell your parents this shit's the reason they don't see your kid. They can't be trusted. Not the asshole. Is your brother 6? He sounds exhausting and very unpleasant. Mind, so does the rest of your family. Your wife sounds a saint. Oh, and self-proclaimed jokesters, or pranksters, are usually just bullies. Your brother sure is. Not the asshole. Your brother isn't pranking your wife, he's bullying her and berating her for dropping the cake when he dumped cold water on her when she was carrying it. That's bad enough, but accusing her of deliberately dropping it is going way too far. It's not a funny thing to do when you're 13, let alone when you're 30, and absolutely should know and treat people better. Quite frankly, you brother is an asshole and it's your wife, not him, that deserves the apology. Not the asshole, but you really should go no contact with your whole family. You don't need your wife and child exposed to bullshit like that. Jokesters, or pranksters, are just a-holes in disguise. Not the asshole. What if Hallie was holding the baby and he did something like this? Rob sounds like a bully. Not the asshole. How is your brother this ignorant? It's his fault the cake was destroyed and the cupcakes came free of charge, so you have every right to take them. Distance yourself more from your toxic family op. Not the asshole, your brother didn't pay for the cupcakes. Hallie made them because she felt like making them. He paid for the cake he caused her to drop by his nasty, infantile behavior. As you left that behind, I'm sure he could have scraped it off the floor to eat it. Which quite frankly it's all he's worth anyway.